After your precious mob of green-haired pro-terrorists mounted an insurrection on Columbia University, I don't want to hear another dang word about January friggin' 6th. The show starts now. Oh, looky, yet another insurrection perpetrated by leftist pro-terror delinquents. Occupying, barricading, and vandalizing private property, well, that's Columbia. Barring Jewish students from entering their classrooms, that's UCLA. Defacing statues, that's GW and Harvard and USC. What do all of those campuses have in common? Well, they are in blue states run almost exclusively by Democrats. They are the captains now. You know, when they try to pull that crap in red states like Texas, Florida, or Georgia, it's a much different scene, and personally, I love to see it. So that right there is a poor little commie at UT who got the good old-fashioned pepper spray treatment, and oh look, there are the consequences of his own actions just burning his little commie eyes. But I think my favorite response to all of it comes from the University of Florida, whose administration made it clear in no uncertain terms that the campus is not a daycare and protesters will not be treated like children. You know, all of this could be ended immediately if law enforcement was allowed to haul these babies out one by their ears and throw them in jail and keep them there. No more performative arrests, no more catch and release. Apply real consequences and the precedent will be set. Or move to a red state like Florida where this crap is not tolerated. That might be the easiest and most effective solution. You know, the police are going to get blamed and demonized for all of this, and then it's going to turn into BLM plus defund the police plus the pro-terrorists. Then these folks are probably going to get settlements for police brutality. Though the clearing out of Columbia last night was a feast for sore eyes, especially this part. You know, in the long run, I'd venture to guess even their successful and professional response is still a no-win situation for NYPD. We've seen this movie before, and it's just so sad. But God bless the officers that will have to put up with these pathetic losers because your patience and your professionalism is impressive. But you know what's not impressive, as usual? Joe Biden. Where is he on all of this? He's very outspoken about Charlottesville and still cries about January 6th, but these anti-Semites on college campuses apparently get a Brandon-sized pass. He'd rather play the fence on the issue in the far-fetched hope of winning them over in Michigan. Apparently, it's just right over his head that while he's courting the juvenile pro-terror delinquent vote, he is losing the average American, the blue-collar worker, the decent men and women who make up the backbone of this country. People like my next guest, New York City labor union leader and lifelong Democrat, Bob Bartels, who is fed up with Biden and the party he once knew.
I put out a poll in my union. President Trump is leading Joe Biden 3-1 on my presidential poll out of my 9,000 members right now. We are very tired of the situation with groceries, inflation, gas prices, illegal immigration, crime. We're living it every day in New York City.
Speaking the truth, Bob Bartels joins me now. Bob, it's so great to have you.
Hi, good afternoon, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into all this stuff with unions and Biden and Trump, I got to ask you, because you are in New York City and your city has been in flames, something that you've probably grown used to at this point. But I got to get your reaction to what happened last night at Columbia, the ongoing chaos. What do you make of all of this?
Well, those are Joe Biden's voters. He's not going to do anything against that. He's the one that's going to, forgive their student debt and make us pay for it. And he doesn't want to upset his voters because he knows everything else is in the, for lack of a better word, I'll say the tank right now. I won't use the word that I want to use.
Yeah, it's interesting that we haven't really had a direct statement from the president of the United States when news coverage, even on liberal networks, they've been covering these campus protests, this campus rioting, which is a more fitting term, insurrection in the case of Colombia. But when you look at this and you look at how Colombia and the administration has acted, and then them sending in NYPD, you know, I said it in my open, but I got to get your take on this. I love to watch NYPD go in and do their job, but because we've seen this before, this is not a new movie for us. I'm a little worried that this is going to end up flipping on NYPD, and then it's going to be the police are bad, then it's going to be marches in the streets against Israel, and then against the police in the United States. Do you think NYPD is going to get any credit for this, or in New York City, are they going to be demonized like we've seen time and time again since 2020?
Well, I have a lot of family that's police or former police. I have a lot of friends that are police or former police. They have to be let to do their job. They are paid by the government of New York City to do a job. Let them do their job. And with that, the judges should be doing their jobs also, because I believe they just have the demoralization right now in the police department because they're trying to do their jobs and they're being demonized every time, and the criminals just being out with no bail. There's got to be some accountability. This is like the Wild Wild West starting all over again.
Yeah, except for in the actual Wild Wild West, this stuff wouldn't fly. I can tell you that. We don't do that in Tennessee or Texas or Florida or Georgia or Alabama or South Dakota. I mean, a lot of great states left, Bob. I hope you come to one someday and see it from this angle, because it's sure great. But I got to ask you, too, because your interview on Fox and Friends and the statements that you've made have been very powerful. You know, I think in 2016, Donald Trump did convert a lot of people. They called them kind of Trumpocrats, a lot of lifelong Democrats who always fancied themselves Democrats because the Democrat Party used to be the party of the blue-collar working man. And then I think in 2016, maybe some forgotten Americans, some labor and some union folks, they started saying, hey, listen, maybe this guy Donald Trump is a businessman. Maybe this guy can help our country. And then we had the mess of 2020. But now we're kind of right back in the same situation. And it feels like as much as Joe tries to make himself out to be this average Joe from Scranton, I feel like he's turning his back on a lot of folks like yourself, lifelong Democrats, and I feel like he's trying to court, the Hamas vote. How does that make you feel as somebody who's been loyal to this party for your whole life?
I'm disgusted, to be honest with you. And everybody's realizing we need pro-America. Our money can't go all over the place. We can't be spending outrageous bills with God knows what's in it. We got illegal immigration. I have another member, and I'm not going to mention his name, we've had a few deaths, and I don't call them deaths. They're younger kids. They're being poisoned. They're doing nothing about it. There's drugs coming over the border. God knows how many terrorists. A lot of our members and a lot of the building trades members in New York City work down at World Trade Center, 9/11. I was down there the second or third day after it happened. I was cutting bodies out for a long time. 2 high school friends of mine. We have members that are very sick. It's not only firemen and cops that are sick. There's many, many construction workers that work down there that are very sick. We all have health issues. And you know what? Had we known it, we were going to get sick, we probably would have done it anyway. But we don't want to have to go through this again, because it's just going to be a matter of time before something happens. We don't know who's coming into this country. It's unsecure right now.
Yeah, it's really amazing to me to look at the streets of, New York City and what's been happening on college campuses in New York City, around the country, but especially in New York City, given what happened on September 11th. And then you've got people in the streets hanging Palestinian flags. You've got people that are openly hailing terrorists and terrorist networks. The fact that that's happening in New York City with what that city has experienced, to me, is mind-boggling, even for a liberal place. It's mind-boggling to me. And you're exactly right. I mean, we're playing Russian roulette here. And then, they just want to bring more and more and more of these people over here, and we're full. That's another issue. Right now it's the campus protesters, but the illegal immigrants that are bankrupting New York City, that's another issue here. So I got to ask you, you said that, a lot of the union members, they're looking and they're thinking we're going to maybe vote for Trump in 2024 in about 200 days. Do you think that other New Yorkers, day in and day out New Yorkers, do you think that they might actually do the unthinkable and vote for Donald Trump?
I think a lot of people are waking up. I've actually had phone calls after last Thursday when I did that other interview. I've had regular citizens or residents calling up and telling me thank you. I've had union workers from all over the country, whether they're out, as we call, with the tools on the job sites, or their local leadership. Retired members have been calling me, thanking me that somebody finally said something. I mean, the way I look at it, if I don't have a country, a free country, I'm not going to have a union.
Right. You know, and I have to wonder, too, as somebody who's been in New York for as long as you've been in New York, how many friends and family members of yours left and went to places like Florida or Texas or even here in Tennessee? Is there a great number that just said, hey, we can't do this anymore?
There are a lot of members who are working out in red states right now. They're traveling and working in red states, Arizona, Tennessee. They're not all red. We got Indiana, you got Florida's another red one. That's where my parents moved. I got family down there. I have friends that moved to Tennessee. I live in upstate New York. I was smart enough to get out of the city about 17 years ago. So I have a long drive. I drive about 200 miles a day to and from work. And I enjoy it up there. I don't know what people are looking at. If we're going to, why aren't we taking care of our military veterans that are homeless?
Right.
Why aren't we taking care of the people with the mental health issues? Why aren't we taking care of the people that have drug addiction? And instead, they just want to open the border to bring more drugs in. Are they trying to replace everybody? Right? I mean, I saw on Breitbart yesterday, the Navy wants to import blue-collar immigrants to do their new warships. So my international union, we're actually marine pipe fitters too. Marine pipe fitters, metal trade shipbuilders. So what are we doing?
What do you think the motivation is, Bob? Because we see all of this and we know it's disastrous and we know it's putting Americans in a pinch and a tough spot for numerous reasons, whether it be their bottom line, their pocketbook, or their personal safety. Why do you think, you've been a lifelong Democrat, why do you think your party is doing this? And why do you think that average, maybe blue-collar Democrats, why do you think they aren't being more vocal and stopping the extreme left of the party from going haywire?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I was raised to speak your mind and never be afraid to say if you have something to say and stand with your convictions. And although I am a registered Democrat, I have a rule I live by, and it's my family and my God is number one. My country's number two. My union's number three. So those are my top three. And if anybody tells me that their union is on top of those other two, and you have a family, I can't believe that, because I think everybody's family is first. But for me, I need to have a secure country. I have relatives that fought in wars back to the Civil War. So, and they fought on the northern side for freedom of slavery. I have a lot of military veterans in my local. We have 3 Congressional Medal of Honor winners, one from World War II, one from Korea. Our last one is from Vietnam. He was the first Congressional Medal of Honor winner in Vietnam as a Marine. He's still living. His name is Bobby O'Malley. Gets all the credit in the world.
Well,
we are a patriotic bunch, and we're pro-America. We're Americans. It's America first now. It's not red and blue anymore.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it kind of is red and blue, because the blue half of it is saying we don't like America, or at least we're going to coddle the people who hate America. So, you know, a lot of times there used to be, maybe even 10 years ago, it was like, oh, you know, conservatives don't have a monopoly on patriotism. And then in the last 10 years, the left has actively said, no, the conservatives do have a monopoly on patriotism. We think the American flag is racist. We hate the country. We don't like the national anthem. We're not going to stand for it. So they've made the choice for a lot of Americans pretty easy. If you love America, you kind of got to be on the red side. Last thing I want to ask you about, though, is kind of a bigger problem, and it goes along with it a little bit, but it's a cultural shift, and I want to get your take on it. The future of the workforce. You know, I tweeted the other day, with all of these elite universities turning into, you know, terrorism camps, I said, hey, listen, you know, if you're a young person right now, either go to a school that's not in one of these places, or maybe start looking into the trades. Get taught how to do something that not only can make you money, but it's worthwhile. You can work with your hands. You've got a skill. And I'm wondering if the future of the workforce, I'm wondering if we're going to have young people that are willing to do what you do. And the young people that you do know and that you do work with, What's the work ethic like, and what would you say we're headed in for in the next 5 years with these young people? Are they going to be workers like you, Bob?
If they have a desire to do this, and we do have a lot of young kids that are coming in, we don't only do the new construction, we do the service in the buildings. We take guys from helmets to hard hats, military veterans. We take people out of the underprivileged areas, pathways to apprenticeships, construction skills. We take women in from new, which is, oh God, you put me on a spot. I forgot that one. I'm sorry. But we have women that come in through programs. We have a woman delegate in our union. She was probably the second one that was elected throughout the country. But if people, they have to be willing to work hard. They have to be willing to get up to get to work. And once we have a great camaraderie. We always joke around with each other. We all help each other. All the trades help each other. So I think we have a good future with the outlook because the union movement is getting a little stronger, I believe, after we're speaking up, and a lot of us are speaking up. And we're here to help the younger kids have a career. Not everybody does good in school.
And not every degree is worth it.
They could do this job.
And not every degree is worth a damn. Let's just be honest. All degrees are not created equal. Good luck with your gender studies degree. I don't know what you're going to do besides be a professional protester. But the last thing, and I promise this is the last thing I want to ask you. When Joe goes out on the campaign trail and the times that he actually does, and he mumbles and fumbles and reads off the teleprompter and messes that up, when he is able to articulate real words and he says that he's just an average Joe and he's out there for the union guys like yourself, do you buy it? Do you believe it? Do your friends believe it?
Nobody believes it. And if you can see all the clips of him saying that he was this, he was that, and they prove him wrong, I really can't believe a word out of his mouth.
Yeah, well, you and
me
both.
I'm pretty good with dealing with a lot of people that are BSing me every day, and I could pretty much read through that.
Yeah, well, all of us can at this point. All of us that are being honest, that is. Bob,
Absolutely.
Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for being one of those backbone Americans out there fighting the good fight, speaking the truth. We need more of you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Have a great day, Tommy.
You as well, Bob. God bless. All right, folks, speaking of, in case you thought Joe couldn't stoop any lower or do anything more egregious, more treasonous than he already has, well, just wait until you hear this one. It's time for Final Thoughts presented by American Financing.
Tomi Lahren is Fearless is presented by American Financing. American Financing has helped thousands of customers save real money and put themselves into a better financial position. Call today and see what they can do for you. 866-890-8585 or visit americanfinancing.net.
So when you're a certified idiot like Joe Biden, you take a look at your lower than low approval ratings on immigration and handling of the conflict in Gaza, and you say, well, let's combine that crap together into a treason sandwich of rotting betrayal. Well, according to a new report from CBS News, the White House is mulling over the thought of bringing in refugees from Gaza, giving them a permanent safe haven here in the U.S. CBS indicates that senior officials from several federal agencies have discussed the benefits and the practicality of resettling Palestinians who have family members already here in America. Oh, like who? Like these friggin' people? Boy, I wonder what could possibly, just possibly, go wrong. As if we aren't already plumb full of illegals, domestic terrorists, and terrorist sympathizers, why not just add thousands more for good measure? You know, we haven't had a major terror attack in a while, so Democrats are just ready to roll the damn dice, you know? But wait, there's more. If the refugee admissions program were to be used in this case, those Palestinians who qualify would not only get a pass into the USA, but also permanent residency, resettlement benefits like housing assistance, and a pathway to American citizenship. So again, this all comes back to future Democrat voters. You know, it's a damn good thing we haven't discovered violent life on other planets, because Democrats would most certainly find a way to bring them to the USA on your dime. You know, if they happen to bankrupt or kill us in the process, that's just a risk the left is more than willing to take. What a shame. Those are my final thoughts from Nashville. God bless and take care.